Man, listen, I got to tell you guys about something that blew my mind recently. I was sitting around just reading, random stuff, diving into these weird rabbit holes like I usually do. And then I came across some stuff about Prophet Muhammad and what he actually said about Jesus. Dude, I had no idea. Like, genuinely shocked. Because you grow up in America, right? You hear Christianity on one side, you hear Islam on the other, and most people, including me for a long time, just think, oh, Islam's got nothing to do with Jesus. Totally wrong. It's wild, man. So here's the crazy part. Muslims actually love Jesus. I didn't know that. Like, not just respect him, but they see him as one of the greatest prophets who ever lived. And it's in the Quran. Straight up. They talk about Jesus, they call him Isa, and he's not just some side character. He's like front and center, a major figure. They even say his mom, Mary, is like one of the most honored women in their whole scripture. There's literally a chapter named after her. That blew me away. I mean, think about that. Growing up Catholic, the way I did, you hear all about Mary, you hear about Jesus, Son of God, crucifixion, resurrection, the whole deal. But in Islam, you hear Jesus wasn't crucified. He wasn't killed. That's the big difference. They believe God protected him, raised him up, and that he's coming back at the end of times. Like, hold on a second. What? Jesus is in the Islamic end time story? I had no clue, man. It's so interesting because the Prophet Muhammad, the guy who founded Islam, he specifically said that Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, that he performed miracles like speaking as a baby, healing the blind, curing lepers, raising the dead, all by God's permission. That's in their holy book. And I'm sitting here thinking, why did nobody tell me this? Because if you're in the West, especially in America, the way Islam is usually framed is like it's just totally separate from Christianity. Like, one's got Jesus, one doesn't. But that's not the reality. The reality is there's a ton of overlap. And, dude, Prophet Muhammad himself said, of all the people, I am the closest to Jesus, son of Mary. That's a direct quote from him. That hit me hard. Because here's this guy who Muslims see as the final prophet, literally saying he's closest to Jesus. That's not something you hear about in the mainstream. It's almost like the narrative is hidden or just not talked about. I kept thinking, if more people knew this, if more Christians and Muslims just sat down and went, wait a minute, we're actually talking about the same people in a lot of ways, it would change so much. There's this perception of total opposition, but the truth is there's a shared reverence. Like, Prophet Muhammad never disrespected Jesus. He didn't say, forget that guy. No, he honored him. He made sure his followers understood that Jesus was this incredible prophet chosen by God. Now, the difference, obviously, is that Christians see Jesus as the Son of God, divine, part of the Trinity, while Muslims say, nope, he's not God. He's not divine. He's a prophet. That's the key split. And that's a massive difference. I get it. But the respect is still there. It's so wild because growing up, I was taught in a very simple black and white way. Christianity's got Jesus, Islam's got Muhammad, end of story. But when you actually read what's in the Quran, Jesus shows up a lot. In fact, he's mentioned by name more than Prophet Muhammad is. Wrap your head around that for a second. And here's the part that really tripped me out. They believe Jesus is going to come back. Muslims believe in the second coming. They believe he's going to return before the end of the world, defeat this figure called the Antichrist. and bring justice. That's straight up like Christian eschatology. Different details, but same general arc. I had no idea those worlds overlapped like that. And it makes you wonder, why is this not talked about? Why isn't this part of the mainstream conversation? Like, if you told most Americans that Muslims are waiting for Jesus to return, they'd probably look at you like you're crazy. But that's the truth. That's in their faith. I kept going down this rabbit hole reading stories about how Prophet Muhammad would tell his companions, like, don't exaggerate my status above the other prophets. He would literally say, we are brothers. And then he specifically mentions Jesus. That's humility, man. That's wild humility. Because think about it, this guy is the central figure of a religion with billions of people, and he's saying, don't put me above Jesus. We're all part of the same chain. That's mind-blowing. And there's something really powerful about that. It's like, in a world where religions are constantly bumping heads, fighting wars, pointing fingers at each other, here's this foundation that's actually saying, we share some of the same heroes, and not just any heroes, but Jesus Christ himself. Now, don't get me wrong, the differences matter. They're huge. Like, in Christianity, the crucifixion is everything. Jesus dies for the sins of humanity. He rises again. That's the core of the whole thing. In Islam, that's the line in the sand. They don't believe that happened. They say Jesus didn't die, that God raised him up, and that forgiveness comes through turning to God directly, not through a sacrifice. That's the fundamental split. But man, the similarities, the virgin birth, the miracles, the message of love, compassion, worshiping one God, those are all shared. And it just makes me sit back and go, why aren't we talking about this more? Because I guarantee you, if more people realized how close these stories are, it would change the way people see each other. I also found it fascinating that Prophet Muhammad said Christians and Muslims are like cousins in faith. And that makes sense when you think about it. Both traditions come out of the same Abrahamic line. It's like they're arguing over the family inheritance, but at the end of the day, they're still family. And I'll be honest, as someone who grew up hearing one version of the story, it's humbling to realize how much I didn't know. Like, here I am, years of going to church as a kid, hearing about Islam in the news, but never really knowing what they actually believe about Jesus. And now I find out they honor him, they respect his mom, they even believe in his return. That floored me, man. It also makes me think about how important it is to actually read things for yourself. Like, don't just rely on what people say about a religion or a culture. Go straight to the source. Because you might be shocked, like I was. And look, I'm not here trying to preach or convert anybody. That's not my role. I'm just fascinated by this overlap, this connection that I never realized existed. It's like two rivers that split and flow in different directions, but they started from the same mountain. At the end of the day, I think it's beautiful that billions of people around the world, Christians and Muslims, are both looking up to Jesus in some way. Whether you see him as God or as a prophet, there's still this massive shared reverence. And in a world that's always divided, always looking for reasons to separate, that feels like something worth paying attention to. So, yeah, man, finding out what Prophet Muhammad said about Jesus, it blew my mind. It challenged what I thought I knew, and it opened my eyes to this connection that's been sitting there the whole time, just under the surface. And if more people knew it, maybe, just maybe, it'd make the world a little less divided. That's what's been rattling around in my head lately. Wild stuff.